Polyfunctionality of Come and Go in Thai and Burmese by Alice Vittrant and Karl Seifen. Our talk will discuss the grammaticalizations of come and go in two Southeast Asian languages, Thai, a Tai-Kadai language, and Burmese, a Sino-Tibetan language. First, we will introduce our theoretical framework, which is a functional approach. Then, we will focus on the different meanings of come and go, starting with their basic lexical spatial readings and moving on to their other uses as markers of dynamic deixis, fictive and abstract motion, and associated motion. To continue, we will examine their tense aspect modality values as markers of aspect, appreciative modality, and imperative. Finally, we will present how those multiple meanings of come and go can be inferred from their context. Our approach is functional, and as such we consider language to be a communication tool, which should be studied according to its uses. Talking about spatial domain and functionalism, the localist hypothesis, together with the grammaticalization theory, help us better understand some recurrent evolutions of the value of come and go that can be observed cross-linguistically. But before moving on to the data and our proposed analysis, we will first go over some key points of these two theories. The moderate localist hypothesis states that the semantic domain of space, both static and dynamic, is a favored source of grammaticalization. According to Fagar and Stovic 2012, this hypothesis may be true for the grammaticalization of space into temporal meaning, which in turn may grammaticalize further into causality and causation. But other domains, such as focalization, are rarely derived from spatial meanings. In other words, the spatial domain extends into other domains, but not all, and carries in different functions. Beside the localist hypothesis, the grammaticalization theory appears to be relevant for motion verbs changing into tense aspect modality markers. It is definitely an attested universal tendency, as stated by Hein and Kutevas in Word Lexicon of Grammaticalization. The other theoretical framework we rely on for our analysis is the grammaticalization theory. Lexical items may become grammatical markers, taking over grammatical meanings. We will introduce here three concepts associated with different approaches to grammaticalization. First, polygrammaticalizations. As stated by Gregg 1991, it refers to the multiplicity of grammaticalization chains that may originate in one particular lexical morpheme, in which a great number of functions are attributed to a unique lexeme. This notion takes a diachronic view of a syntactic phenomenon. 2. Transcategoriality. It refers to the ability of morphemes to be synchronically used across different syntactic categories. This notion gives a synchronic view of process of grammaticalization. Third, heterosemy refers to different but related meanings of a given morpheme are associated with distinct grammatical contexts. In other words, the specific meaning of a specific form is inferred from its syntactic environment. This notion is not limited to grammaticalization, as it may describe a noun-verb alternation and takes a syntactico-pragmatic view. Whether labeled polygrammaticalization, transcategoriality, or heterosemy, the phenomenon is widespread in Southeast Asian languages such as Thai and Burmese. Table 1, adapted from Hanfield 2006, shows an example of heterosemy. The items in the first column have core verb semantics: ascend, enter, follow, give, and in the second, non-core semantics: up, into, with, and for. The figure underneath illustrates transcategoriality by giving a schema of the uses of the commutative marker, which is used also as a locative, gerund, progressive, dative, or intensifier marker, among 17 possible functions.
Given this theoretical background, we will now take a look at the come-and-go morphemes in two rather typical Southeast Asian languages, Thai and Burmese. These two languages behave in a similar way with respect to these verbs, even though they belong to different linguistic families. We'll start by reviewing their space-related meaning before examining their other functions. The first use of these verbs is purely lexical, as simple deictic verbs come and go that indicate the motion of a figure, that is to say, the path followed by a figure from one point to another. This is illustrated by the Burmese example 1a, you must go at least to 4 places on pilgrimage, they said, and by the Thai examples 1b and 1c, respectively, he came late and he went to find the potters. Note that HP1 referred to a corpus in Thai from Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. The second spatial function of come and go is as markers of dynamic deixis. They are found in directional serial verb constructions, and they occur with either a motion verb or a manner of motion verb. Dynamic deixis refers to the direction of motion with respect to a viewpoint, namely the deictic center, which is often the speaker. There are two directions, one towards the viewpoint, called centripetal, and two away from the viewpoint, called centrifugal. Both directions are found in Thai and Burmese. Examples in 2 illustrate come-and-go encoding dynamic deixis. Burmese sentences 2a and 2b have the same translation. A young woman goes into the cave, while they express two perspectives on the event. In 2a, the event is oriented away from the viewpoint, which must be set outside of the cave, while in 2b, it is oriented toward the viewpoint, which means that the deictic center is located inside the cave. The orientation is given by the two markers come and go. Moving to Thai 2c, the woman walks into the cave. Here, similarly to the previous Burmese examples, come and go indicate either the orientation toward or away from the viewpoint. Note that traj refers to the trajectoire corpus, built with the trajectoire stimulus tool to elucidate description of path. A third spatial use of come and go is for fictive and abstract motions. In the literature, the event referred to as "this road goes from Modesto to Fresno" has been labeled different ways: fictive motion by Talmy, abstract motion by Langacker, and subjective motion by Matsumoto. All refer to the use of spatial dynamic descriptions for non-spatial or non-dynamic events. However, sentences such as "her mood went from good to bad" have not been considered by these authors, but we propose that they should be taken into account. Therefore, we distinguish fictive and abstract motions. Fictive motions refer to a conceptual path in relation with actual points in space, following Talmud's definition, while abstract motion refer to a metaphorical use of space. Note that Langacker's abstract motion refers to Talmy fictive motion and is different from our use of the term. Fictive motion include communication path conceptualized from the speaker to the listener, as in example 3a. Birdwatchers from the whole country have reported that owls were acting strangely, The reports are treated as moving from the bird watchers to the viewpoint, which is the newscaster. Fictive motion also appears with lines of vision, conceptualized from the experiencer to the stimulus. At means 3b, it, the cat, was staring at the alley's entrance, where the line of vision extends from the observer, the cat, which is also the viewpoint, up to the alley's entrance. Fictive motion referring to a conceptual path, like a sound path, may be expressed by a series of verb construction that includes a deictic verbal morpheme in Burmese too. Examples 3c and 3d describe situations where sounds arose. In both examples, the verb string contains the deictic verb la, to come, that indicates the orientation of the event with respect to the deictic center. As for abstract motion, an important metaphor involving spatial markers is the time metaphor, as the time is seen as a moving entity, hence passing of time. This metaphor is found in Burmese and Thai, as illustrated by 4a and 4b. Burmese example 4a refers to the hot and dry season that has come. The Thai example 4b uses the dative verb pai, to go, to indicate that Mrs. Dursley's day unfolds calmly. Another metaphor present in Thai is a mind metaphor, when one's mind can come and go. A going mind is used when one falls asleep, faints, is lost in thoughts, or goes insane, as in 5a. Had this strange and inexplicable occurrence robbed him of his sanity, where go indicates that one loses his mind, that he is go insane. A coming mind is used when one wakes up, regains consciousness, has an idea, or is concentrating, as in 5b, you will wake the muggles, non-wizard, where comes indicate that one recovers his mind, that is, wakes up.
Similar examples exist in Burmese. 5c illustrates a state of affair where one is asleep. The compound verb to sleep is followed by the verb thua, meaning to go, indicating the departure of the mind. 5d illustrates the opposite state of affair, that is to say, an awakening event. In this example, taken from the internet and referring to the current Burmese situation, the verb to awake is followed by this time by the centripetal marker la. The final spatial meaning to be discussed here is associated motion. Associated motion is a verbal grammatical category whose function is to associate in different ways different kind of translational motion to a generally non-motion event. Associated motion has three parameters: direction, towards and away from the deictic center, up, down, and so forth; temporality, motion anterior, posterior, or simultaneous with respect to the main event; and the syntactic role of the moving entity, subject or object. These parameters allow meanings such as do and come, do and go and do and bring, etc. In Thai, come can have the associated motion meaning do and come in round-trip situations, that is to say, that involve a previous motion, as in 6. Today, I came across a market that sold only fruits and came back. Burmese also has the associated motion marker meaning do and come, which is not limited to round-trip situations, as in 7. I will give him the key and then I will come back. This marker is not a grammaticalization of the verb la, to come, despite its use as a centripetal marker towards the deictic center. However, the associated motion marker ke may come from an old motion verb, as suggested by its use in imperative sentence and by Arakane's data. Note that associated motion is different from motion with purpose, go in order to do something, although they may look similar in surface. Motion with purpose is usually expressed by serial verb construction in Southeast Asian languages, that is to say, combinations of verbal form of equal status. Whereas in associated motion constructions, the associated motion morpheme has already undergone grammaticalization from verb to verbal particle. Apart from spatial meanings, come and go can take aspectual and modal meanings. Come and go show a number of aspectual meanings in Thai and Burmese. In Thai, come and go can express continuative aspect, including more specific meanings such as up to now and from now on. Come may also express the iteration of an action up to now, and go can express a change of state or a perfect aspect. In Burmese, come and go express phasal aspect, come the inchoative and go the resultative. Both may also express a perfect or change of state, especially with stative verbs. 8a shows the continuative meaning of come in the sentence translated, "How did Harry survive?" 8b shows the change of state meaning of go in the sentence, "The cake has been nibbled at." Finally, in 8c, we see the continuative meaning of go in the sentence translated by, "But those who don't want to have wives keep waiting." In Burmese, thwa go can have a perfect reading aspect as in 9a. The rich man was astounded by the young man's answer, and still is at the reference time. In 9b, come indicates a change of state. Here is the context. Up to now, the mayor of the town does not understand the speaker U Pusin, but U Pusin hopes that he will at some point. Once there will be a moment where the mayor will understand me. Lastly, in 9c, la, the verb meaning come, has undergone a semantic change. In this sentence and position, it indicates the beginning of the looking event. In other words, it now marks an inchoative aspect. Come and go may also express appreciative modality, which indicates the opinion of the speaker on the event. In Burmese, come and go express respectively laudative modality, the event is good, and detrimental modality, the event is bad. For example, 10a, as he became an important person, his behavior changed for the worse with detrimental go and for the better with laudative come. In Thai, only the detrimental go is attested, as in 10b. Why is she extremely afraid of him, which is bad? In Thai, go may also have an imperative meaning. In this case, it might be realized with a high tone, as in 11a, read the book, and 11b, stay in your room. This use is unattested in Burmese, but occurs in Vietnamese. See the imperative look in example 12.
Considering as each one of the forms studied here has several possible meanings, the question is how to interpret correctly a sentence, how to pick the right meaning in a specific sentence. There are three different ways to identify the correct meaning. First, the environment, that is to say the context of occurrence of the come and go forms. They can occur in different syntactic slots, as main verb or either as pre-verbal or post-verbal elements, and these different syntactic slots point to different meanings. Depending on the semantic of the verb that they modify, come and go take specific meanings. For instance, with motion verb, come and go express dynamic deixis, whereas with vision or communication verbs, they express fictive motion. Secondly, a sentence may contain several occurrences of the same form, either come or go. A sentence may also show both the two antinomic forms. In both cases, one form may express the lexical meaning, while the other one functions as a grammatical marker. Thirdly, other items of the sentence may trigger a specific meaning of the form, especially for aspectual values. Come and go forms encoding aspectual values often appear with other aspectual morphemes that express similar aspectual function, as shown in the next slide. Vietnamese example 13, go, illustrates the co-occurrence of two identical morphemes with different functions. The first occurrence of go is the lexical verb of motion. The second is an imperative marker. The use of both come and go was illustrated above in example 6, where come was an associated motion marker and go was a lexical verb. Now, example 14. In the first sentence, he slept on, not knowing he was special. By, go, encodes a continuative value. It combines here with another continuative marker, to, which triggers its aspectual meaning. In 14b, Uncle Nit has died. By, go, is a perfect marker. It is followed by sia and leo, which encode for the first one the irreversibility of an accomplished event, and for the second one a general perfect value. Besides their different fine-grained added values, the three morphemes express the same general aspect of accomplishment of an event. In conclusion, in both Thai and Burmese, come and go have undergone several grammaticalizations, some related to space, such as dynamic deixis, fictive and abstract motion, and associated motion, and some related to aspect and modality, such as appreciative modality and imperative. All these grammaticalized forms exist concurrently with the lexical source in the two languages. There are traces of distinct grammaticalization paths, the ongoing process leading to polyfunctional forms. However, the semantic ambiguity raised by the grammaticalization in progress may be cancelled, either through environment or redundancy. Through environment, as different grammaticalizations appear in different contexts, and through redundancy, either of form or meaning. First, the co-occurrence of the same form with different meaning triggers the choice of the meaning. Then, the co-occurrence of aspectual markers triggers the aspectual value of come and go. In all of these grammaticalizations, the deictic semantic core of come and go remains. This deictic core is an orientation to the deictic center, the I, here, now. In other words, the deictic center is anchored in the speech event, its participant, its location, and its temporality. However, beside this core meaning, the distinct uses of come and go forms refer to different conceptualizations of this deictic center. The conceptualization of the deictic center is a spatial point with dynamic deixis, fictive motion, associated motion, and with the lexical use of come and go. It is a temporal point with a time metaphor and aspect, and it's a speech participant with a mind metaphor and modality. Thank you for your attention.